Okay, thank you so much for joining us again. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are around the globe. I am very glad to have all of us back here after 2 weeks. And hopefully it's been a fantastic time with everyone. I thank God we are back today in very good health. So this is the progress webinar number 5 that is about to begin. It's the 16th of July. I remember the last time we met here was at the start of the month. So it's been 2 weeks and we are back to continue telling those very interesting stories, which are aimed at helping us grow, inspiring us, motivating us, and again, letting us know each other properly. And why not get to work with each other? So I guess we have 2 people joining us today for the first time. Solomon has not been on this platform yet, so he's coming to it for the first time. He is in Johannesburg. Solomon, you are welcome, and feel free. This is home for you. I know you love things like this. Solomon organizes seminars in South Africa as well. He is a very corporate person, and I think he will get to be one of our speakers eventually. Because he too has a lot of good stories to tell us. So Solomon, you are welcome. Myra is also joining this platform for the first time, and she's doing that in grand style. She's doing that as a speaker, so that's fine. So once again, welcome to this 5th edition of the Progress webinar. It's an initiative that started like two months ago, I guess, yeah, like 2 months ago. And the aim is to have us network, and get to know each other better. Right, so without much ado, I really can't go on explaining the result depth for this platform because it's been said over and over. So we would just go straight to what usually brings us here every 2 weeks. So it's simple, very simple concept. We have 2 speakers who tell their stories, tell us what they do, what they've experienced in what they do so far, and just how what they do can help us grow if we want to get into their line of activity. Then they also entertain questions at the end of their presentation. So I will encourage us to ask as many questions as possible, just so we can learn and know more about what these people do. Before we introduce our guest speakers, our speakers today, we have a few housekeeping rules, which have not changed, of course. So the first one would be to have us mute ourselves when we are not talking, just so if there's any noise around, it doesn't interrupt our conversation. When it is time for you to speak, simply indicate by either raising your hand physically. I will see you if you're on camera and usher you, to speak. You may also want to do that digitally by using the icon. Then we have a chat box here as well. So use it as much as you can, especially when the speakers are talking. Use the chat box as much as you can. When it is the Q&A session, you can also ask those questions by just typing them in the chat box, or if you want to speak, good and fine. Then remember, if you have a glass of water, please, that too is important. It's going to help you because the conversations are going to be really, really interesting today. So with that said, I guess we have to start. once again, welcome and thanks for your time. Let's talk. So we are going to begin with the first speaker, Myra Maimo. Myra is a musician who has been in the field for so long. She's a very, very talented singer. Myra is also a tourism ambassador. For some reason, I really haven't talked about this with her. I've known Myra for a while now. I've had to interview her on radio a couple of times, but we've never really talked about her tourism side. So this is a golden opportunity for her to explain what that means. She's also the founder of Motherland Cultural Connections. I understand it's an outfit that displays various cultural stuff like cuisine. She holds a house concert, and other things. She'll get to explain that to us. Myra resides in the United States, precisely in the state of Michigan. So she accepted to be one of our speakers today. She has an interesting story, which I would enjoin us to sit back, relax, listen to. Thereafter, we will engage her in our conversation. Our second speaker is a young yet so talented civil society activist. She's an author. Her book just got into circulation less than a month ago. That book is on Amazon. You get to know about it. But before Peggy joins us, let's begin with our first speaker, Myra Maimo. So Myra, once again, thank you so much for accepting to be one of our speakers. But before you even come on, I would just like us to watch this for just a few seconds. Then we will have her. So the rest of it can be savored if you just go to YouTube and type Myra Maimo. That's one of her songs she did like 5 years ago. She has scores of other songs which you get to enjoy as time goes on. Myra, if you are ready, then I guess this course of people who have gathered here today to listen to you are ready. Are you? You have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, Myra Maimo, thank you so much, and over to you.
Thank you so much for having me over. This is really an amazing opportunity. Thank you all who are participating, and yeah, I look forward to this. Peggy, it's amazing to finally meet you in person or virtually, so I'm really excited. Let's go to who I am. I am called Myra Maimo. That's my stage name. My real name is Mirabella Omene. I am a wife. I am a mother of 3. I am a certified tourism ambassador. I am the founder of Motherland Cultural Connections and Berevent Consulting. I am a musician. I am a creative. I love creating stuff. I love to see things grow from 0 all the way up. That's where I get my pleasure or my fulfillment from. And this journey started with me just being a musician. And as we know, being a musician entails a lot. It requires a lot. It requires traveling. It requires touring. It requires all of those things. And I did that for some time. And when I started a family, I discovered that, yeah, I would love to be touring, but family comes first. And so I had to switch my priorities a little bit. I am a musician who is on a mission to empower, to heal, to encourage through music and words. And so my songs will be more of, they are introspective. They will make you think about life. They will make you think about where you're going, but most importantly, they would encourage you to move on, to step up to the next level. That is my motivation. That is what motivates me every day. I wake up every day with that in my mind. Like, what am I going to do next? Who am I going to reach next? Who am I going to push into their destiny next? That's the one thing that gives me pleasure. And so this story started with me being a musician. And like I said, family, when I had a family, everything changed. And I started asking myself, because I had wrapped my identity around music. And in that moment, I wasn't able to do as much as I would have wanted, as any musician would want. And so I started asking myself, like, what are the things that give me pleasure in this world? It was I had an identity crisis, period. That's just what I'm gonna put it that way. I had to ask myself these questions over and over again. Who are you? What do you like to do? What have you been called to do? And what do you have to start the journey? And during that time, I'd not done anything for like 2 years. I'd not released any music for like 2 years or even 3 years. And I came out asking that question, like, one thing I know for sure, I can't do the music like I want to do anymore. That's the one thing. The second thing is I love cooking. I love hosting. I love my culture. I love showcasing this. I love hosting. I like having people around. My home is more of the place where people come to rest. And that was when I just had this light bulb, like, this is it. And I came up with Motherland. And the reason behind this is because I also have 2 master's degrees. And after having left Germany, that was where I was before coming to the US, I had such a tough time getting a job, like just a regular job. I had a tough time doing that. So I had to figure out something very fast for myself, because I do have people who depend on me. And with music not being an option anymore because of family, something had to give. And then I started looking around. I saw so many other people like me, people who had been doctors in their countries of origin, and they've come here and they're not able to really get the jobs that they want. Creatives who had abandoned their dreams completely, just like I was about to abandon mine about music. And I thought, why not start something? Why not be the platform that we're looking for? Why not create that platform? So I went ahead and I created the platform. We started house concerts in my basement. That was where we would have house concerts. We tried, we tweaked, we changed prices, asked questions, and finally we had something that was consumable, that people wanted. And so we took it out and we started hosting house concerts where we would showcase musicians from all over Africa, touring, and local artists. And that gave me so much pleasure, just to see people who had completely given up, who were now inspired, and they started writing songs and releasing them. We have everybody, there's just one person who hasn't released a song yet. And these are people, amazing singers, gifted people who had given up completely. And it's not just people who had given up, now they could actually earn extra income for their families. And we are all earning income. What that does is, for someone who had given up, that pushes them, that gives them so much self-esteem. What they had lost, they now know that they can contribute to the economy. They now know that they can belong. They have a family that can hold their hands and grow. And that is what gives me a lot of pleasure. So that's what Motherland is all about. We decided to switch things and start doing cooking experiences too, because the only way music is not the only way you consume culture. We decided we're going to since we were the first people doing this, we were going to teach cultural competency to others who had not experienced the African cultures. And so we would teach you all of these things, nuances, time, what it means in my culture versus yours. It morphed into a DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion endeavor. And it just keeps on morphing as we go because we do things and we don't necessarily think that is what we want to go or where we want to go. But as we move along, we discover all of these aspects that we're doing that are already part of things that people are doing. And we, just because we didn't name them that way, didn't mean that we weren't doing that. So as we're going, this thing is taking a life of its own. And the best thing about that is I wake up every morning doing the things that I love. I sing, I cook, I talk about Cameroon, I talk about Africa. We show them what Africa is, not the things that people see on media. We talk about real stories. People come and tell the guest how they grew up. But that's not only what they get away with it. We create a safe space where we can learn about each other, exchange values, exchange ideals. I would say that every time we have our cooking experiences or house concerts or educational experiences, half of the people leave being friends just because of that exposure. And for me, it's very important that we do this one step at a time. We're not about to run, we're not running a race with anybody. We're gonna do what we came here to do, to educate, to empower, to inspire, one house concert at a time and one cooking experience at a time. And we're always looking for people to partner with. So if you know amazing home cooks who are in the diaspora or even somewhere in Africa who should be showcased, please refer them to us, because these are the people that we want to give the opportunity to showcase their skills that they probably think they don't have or they don't value. So in a nutshell, that's who I am, what Motherland Cultural Connections is all about. And yeah, I'm really excited for what the future holds for us.
I is really excited for what the future holds for us. What an interesting story. What caught my attention was the cultural competency thing. I'm coming across that that concept, that terminology for the very first time. Maybe that would be an opportunity for me to know more about that. But let me hold that question till others ask theirs. So Maida, thank you so much for that presentation. Like I said, it's an interesting one. So we will now move to the questions. I guess there will definitely be many. So if we are ready, Maida is ready to provide answers to our questions. Just indicate I will let you in. So who has a question?
I have a question.
Oh, Solange. Okay, Solange, go right ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. Hi, Myra. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Thank you for that inspiring story. Actually, my question for you is, okay, you mentioned that when you got married and now you had kids, you didn't really know how to, this is like a new journey, how to, go about it and, still pursue your dreams and all of that. So my question to you is, okay, having a spouse, was your spouse supportive? And if you're having these house parties, I know you got to consult with your spouse, you got to share the dream with your spouse. Was he supportive of the idea or supportive of that dream?
Thank you so much, Solange, for the question. He was. It's gonna be impossible to do any of that without his support, because this is bringing strange people sometimes into our home. And we have kids that we need to also shield. So it had to be a team effort. So on days like that, we would have our kids go somewhere else, stay with some friends, and we would do what we needed to do. And he's always there. He's always there with the setup. It's a crazy crew. When we started small. So there weren't any people being hired to set things up. We would set things up. And if you've ever done a concert or you've ever hosted a concert, you know what that entails, like speakers and everything. And he would be there in the trenches with me, setting it up and tearing it down. When I started this, I started with $200. And he was like, I'm gonna support you. I need you to be all in. So put in your money, and then I'll put like 1/4 in. So as it grows, I will keep on adding. But you need to prove to me that this can work. So I had his support. I still have his support like the whole way. And this also brings me to this point. It's very, very important if you are married, especially if you are creative, if you are in the space that I am, it's very, very important to work things out with your spouse. We consider what we did, because me giving up my dream, because that is what I did when I started having kids. I literally had to give up my dream. And that was a sacrifice on my part. And for him now, he says that all the time, like, you did this, now it's my turn to make sure that you follow your own dream and make sure that you do what you were called to do in this world. So to answer your question again, team effort all the way.
That is amazing, because some spouses don't support their partner's dream. I can tell you that, because when I was married, I felt like my dreams were dying, having a child and, have to manage the family is quite, you're caught up with so much that you can focus on your own dream. So
yes.
It's amazing to see that he would appreciate your sacrifices for giving up your dream. And now he's trying to push you to, see that your dreams come true. That is just fantastic. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'll pass that on to him. Say hey.
Yes. And then I know him, we were in school together. So
yeah,
my appreciation to him.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Beautiful.
You're welcome.
So much. Thank you so much for that question.
Welcome, sir.
Do we have the next question? Who goes next? Okay, there is a hand raised. Danielle.
Good evening, everyone. I'm talking from Douala, Cameroon. Yeah, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. Yeah, this is Danielle. I am a social media expert, specialist, and I am all about helping coaches, experts, and entrepreneurs to leverage the power of the internet to build a powerful brand online and to stand out as authority in their niche. So I was really inspired by your story, because I am a storyteller, and I'm a big believer that we have to tell our stories. I read somewhere that our story is ours, but it's not always for us. That means you never know who is on the listening end. You never know who the story can really encourage. So I listening to you, I was like, okay. So my question goes as does. So as I was saying, listening to you, I was really more inspired, because I am an entrepreneur and I have several projects actually I'm working on. I guess I'm not yet married like you, but I am listening to you and listening to everything that you've been able to accomplish. I was saying, wow, this is such a powerful woman, and it needs, if I can say, supernatural grace to be able to accomplish all that. And it also requires passion, a lot of passion. So my question is, if you actually had that young lady that is standing beside you, or let me be very clear, if there was one piece of advice that you can actually give to someone like me, because I believe I may be like younger than you. I mean, as far maybe in age, and also as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. So my question is, if you had to give me a piece of advice, I actually have so many projects I'm working on, and it's not always easy, but I'm putting in my best. So if there's one piece of advice you can actually give me at this point in time in my life, what will that be, with respect to your experience? Because you can always advise someone best when you have actually been through a certain situation. So that's my question. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Danielle, and kudos to all you're doing. Kudos. There's one thing that I would break it down into 3 parts. I would say, know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Focus on your strengths. Find the people who are talented in the things that you cannot do. Roll with those people. That way you are leveraging each other's strengths. You go further that way. And then I'll also say another part is start small. Start small. You don't need everything in place before you start. As you go, you're gonna learn. As you go, you're going to learn. And every day is a new day. Every day is a new day. It may be horrible today, it may be horrible the whole month or half of the year, but consistency is what pays. You have to be consistent. You normally have to repeat your message at least 6 to 7 times before people even start taking notice of what you're doing. And that can be spread out between 6 months before you actually start seeing any feedback coming from people, before people even start trusting that you're going to see this thing through or that you're even serious. And so if it's a short-term thing, don't do it. But if you know this is what your calling is, if you are happy doing what you're doing, then you'd last longer. And help is always like a finger away. Ask for help. The worst thing that can happen to you is people are going to say no. When they say no, you're not going to die. That's just another door that has shut. There are many other doors. But don't stay and suffer alone. Reach out to people as much as possible. So that's what I would really say. So consistency, start small, ask for help when you need to. Every day is a new day. I would break it down that way.
Consistency.
Thank you very much.
She said consistency, starting small and asking for help. Those 3 things were very important. And I'm also glad she said help is next door, 1 finger away. And the worst that can happen is for help to be denied. But again, if you keep asking, at some point, you will meet somebody who will provide that help. So it's about being endurance, So that is a good lesson. Any more questions?
I just got one thing to say to Maria. Maria, I love your music so much. I learned about, yes, that's excellent. I just want to tell Maria, I love your music so much. I learned about you first from your music on Vardam 5 years ago, and I just love that music so much. I haven't listened to your other songs, but please bring us more music. You're truly very creative. I can tell from your songs, very encouraging. Please, we need more music.
Thank you. Thank you,
welcome.
Solange. We're working on something. Something has to come out early next year. It was due this July, but with COVID and everything else. But yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
We're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So we're looking forward to that. Let me ask this question, which I asked somebody on radio yesterday. So, Myra, you are an African artist who lives in the diaspora, and we know what hurdles you go through in terms of production, in terms of practicing music full time. It's almost impossible to do that when you have to pay the endless bills, which we all know about. So there are artists back on the continent who are the leading ones, who run the landscape, who run the sector, who are the celebrities, who are famous.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of you who live in the diaspora and practice music don't enjoy, the fame, the celebrity status, and those good things that come along with music.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Do you still feel fulfilled, that despite the amount of effort you put in, you are not able to hit that celebrity status like your counterparts who are back on the continent?
Yeah, that's a very good question. For me, it all matters about what you want. What is the goal with your music? Because my music is already niche as it is. You will not hear me singing only about like useless things, I just because of that, I've already lost most of the people there. And for me, the goal is not to just put in music there for everyone's consumption. The goal is for me to reach people. And when I perform, when I go out, or just the messages that I get from people about how much the music changed their lives, or how much a certain verse in there encouraged them, my work is done. My work is done. That is it. And there's also this thing about comparing yourselves with other people. People's journeys are different. It would be nice if that came and I didn't have to do other things, but that is just an add-on. For me, I consider that as an add-on. And there's also the issue of being famous. Before I came to the US, I was pretty famous all over Europe. And it's a very lonely place. It's a very lonely place. See, people might be cheering you on, and as you're traveling, as you're touring, you don't have family moving around with you. You don't have the people that you love moving around with you. It's a very, very lonely place. And where you're lonely, you start making mistakes. So it's a double-edged sword, sort of like. And where I am right now, I'm actually very happy because I'm still able to do all the things. I am able to sing during my experiences. And even if I don't sing, I facilitate some other person to sing. And for me, those are the things that check the boxes for me. What am I doing to elevate other people? But also, am I using my skills? And I am. So that for me, I am good.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, so next question, that will be probably my last. Then if there are no questions, we'll move to the next speaker. So I understand you are also a certified tourism ambassador. What does that mean?
Oh, CTAs are, like you say, tourism ambassadors. So we are the ones who would highlight the things that we have in our surrounding, in our communities. That would include culture. It would include like unique experiences and all of that. And for me, being an owner of an experienced company, it was very important that I learned the ropes on how to navigate this world in the US. Okay. And I use this not only for my states, but also for Cameroon, primarily for Cameroon and Africa, full stop. But that gives you access to the city, for example, the city officials. It gives you access to a lot of people that you would not necessarily meet. People who are into tourism, people who are doing other things. So it makes it easier for you to collaborate with other people. It just makes everything easier because they have resources that they'll train you on how to take care of people, connect you with other CTAs in different countries all over the world. And it just makes things easier for anyone in the experience business.
Wow. How lucrative is the culture industry?
Look, it is very, very much so, especially with all the things that have happened in the US with George Floyd's murder and all the injustices that we see all around the place. People are a lot more informed and more alert when they see things, and people also know that it's very to be normal. You have to sort of immerse yourself in cultures that are different from yours. You can't see things through your lens only, because when you do that, then your biases come to the fore. You start treating the people you work with badly because maybe they eat stinky food, or because they do this, or because they speak this way. And what cultural immersion does is teach you other ways of doing things, that it's not just your way that works. And that makes it easier for companies. Right now, companies are very big on that, because it's been proven that the more multicultural your company is, the more revenue you get, because you get diverse ideas and different things. People see things from different perspectives, and you're able to leverage that and earn money for your company and your employees. And so it's a very big thing now. And we are in a space where we don't have as many African-leaning companies. I think it's because we think we don't have anything to offer. And that's the narrative that we want to destroy. That even if you're a mom and you're staying at home, that it doesn't mean that you have been locked out. You can still stay at home and cook and teach a cooking class and earn money from it. You're cooking for your family. You're not going out or do anything, but you're monetizing your skills that you underlook and undervalue.
Wow.
So it is very lucrative.
That is very interesting. The global economy thrives today thanks to cultural diversity, which organizations are encouraging. I guess expatriates understand this better because they get cultural immersion, before, upon picking up their foreign assignments. Which is really great. Okay, I guess that has really been very interesting. Maida, thank you so much. I don't think we have any more questions for you, but if you think of any question, you can ask her. That could come at the end when we will give 2 minutes to run up with each of the speakers. So Myra, you're not going away yet. Just step behind and we listen to the next speaker. If you have questions for her as well, feel free to ask them. So once again, Myra, thank you so much. Yours was a beautiful presentation, and hopefully you'll be back on this platform in the same capacity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So having listened to our first speaker, I guess it's time to hit the road for the next speaker. Peggy is a young Cameroonian who lives in the United Kingdom. She's a civil society activist. She runs an organization called Born for the Purpose of Empowerment. It is a CIC. CIC simply means Community Interest Center. That's how the British call their civil society organizations. It's what we call NGOs in most African countries, what Americans would call non-profit organizations. So in the UK, it's CIC. So she runs one of such organizations. Recently, she published a book titled I Am Thriving, a very inspiring book. Of course, it's on Amazon, and I would encourage us to procure copies of the book and read. Let me not tell her story for her. She understands that story better than I do. So at this point, I'm going to invite Peggy Barry to get on the rostrum and tell us her story. Peggy, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, ahead.
Well, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. And I just want to say thank you to all our speakers. Myra, I kept nudging. I just wanted to say something. It wasn't a question. I wanted to make a comment to say, you know what? I feel so proud. I feel so blessed when I see a woman like you. You are a mom, you are a wife, you are an entrepreneur, you've got your dreams in your hand, you've got your purpose, and you're still pursuing all of these things. You've got these many hats that you're wearing and everything. So kudos to you, kudos to you. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I bet you lives will be changed through that. And yeah, so I'm Peggy Barre. Many people call me Pelagie. Pelagie is my name from birth, but for some reason, when I came to the UK, people say, oh, Pelagie is so difficult to pronounce. I say, okay, in English, it's called Peggy, and people have stuck with that Peggy. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids, and I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I'm an independent domestic abuse practitioner. I do run a CIC, which Mr. Kanjo has just mentioned. And that CIC is all, from the backdrop of a vision or a passion or a purpose for me to empower people, especially women, to empower people with love and respect, to believe in their self-worth, and so that they can live a thriving life. And the reason why I created that organization, again, I always go back to my own story. I remember the first day I had my mentor session with my mentor, and she looked at me in the eyes and she asked me, say, Peggy, why were you born? And my mind went blank. I couldn't answer. You know, I murmured, I tried, but then, so in the end, when I finally actually find out why I was born, I started asking that same question to other women. When I meet other women, I ask them, I say, sister, why were you born? And you know what? Sometimes you'll be amazed some of the responses that people give you, especially women. You know, in this part of the world, you said they told me, oh, my parents said I was born out of mistake. You know, that tiny mistake, you know, I was born out of mistake. I was born because my parents wanted to claim benefit. I was born, I don't know. Some people say I was born to be abused. I was born to be used and dumb. I was born. So people gave different varied reasons, pathetic reasons. And so for me, that was a light bulb moment. It rang a bell in my head. How many millions of women, or not just women, how many millions of individuals are living on this planet Earth without knowing why they were born? How many of us are we just rolling life, living a purposeful life without actually realizing our purpose, living our dream life while we were born? And so for me, that is the reason why I created this center. Well, I call it Born for a Purpose Empowerment Center. It's all about empowering women. Why do I keep saying women? Well, empowering even men, you know, empowering, but our clientele, I focus more on women because I know that women are most of the ones that they settle for less in life. They settle for less. It takes courage. Somebody like you, Maria, when you were speaking, you said something. When I started giving birth to children, I lost but you were brave enough and you were courageous enough and you were lucky and confident enough. You had somebody supportive to actually say, you know what, even though I sacrificed this part of me, I can hang on this part of me to still live the purpose, to still live the life that I was born to live. Not many women have that opportunity. Not many of them have that courage to really dig deep and say, you know what, irrespective of the fact that I've got children, I'm married, I can still pursue my dream. So we set up this organization to enable women to find their purpose and live their purpose, to embrace their identity, to find their self-worth, right? And like you say, sometimes we move with talent. How many of us are gifted? We're born with gifts that we take those gifts into the grave. You know, some women, just like you say, how many of women are living with talent of cooking? They know how to cook, they know how to sing, they know how to clean, you know. How can they actually monetize or turn this passion into earning or into their purpose or into something to serve their community and leave a legacy for their own children? Because this life that we live, we are just passing. So we need to leave a legacy. We need to find something that we can leave behind for others to mimic, if not for our children, for others to mimic that, to continue with that legacy. And so that is just what I do, and that is just me. So Mr. Kanjo just mentioned that recently I published a book. I call it I Am Thriving Now. And the inspiration for me to publish that book is it also goes down to my own story. You know, I always say relationship is a beautiful thing. We want to have relationship that, you know, is passionate, is loving, is caring, is supportive. But sometimes when things don't work out well and that relationship breaks down, what do? Do you languish in that pain? Do you forget yourself? Or do you get up, dust yourself, and keep moving? So that book, this book, I'm Thriving Now, it all is a summary. I tell my story from the standpoint of strength, because I know sometimes when we go through challenges in our lives, I've been through challenges in my life from childhood. You know, I went through emotional torture, emotional abuse as a child, into my teenagehood, into my adulthood. So I carry that scars, those emotional scars with me. And it really affected my self-esteem. It took away my voice. It took away my value. It took away my identity. I didn't know who I was. So when we don't know who we are, when we don't know ourselves, when we don't value ourselves, know our value, then we cannot set the criteria for people to treat us. Because the same standard at which, or the same lenses at which we view ourselves is the same way people view us. The way we talk about ourselves, the way we brandish ourselves is the same way people talk about, will talk about us. If I see myself as stupid, worthless, useless, that is how people see me. And so when my happy home actually, the relationship broke down, it was painful. It was painful, You see, when we come out of this environment, we barely drown in emotions. I describe it in my book as drowning in that deep pool of emotions, emotional pain, the pain of rejection, the pain, because sometimes when things happen like that, you keep asking yourself, what is it that I did wrong? What is it that was the problem? Was I not good enough? What are the mistakes that I make? You keep going round and around the circles, and that emotion can be draining. It can be depressing. So for me, I was drowning in those emotions of rejection, of guilt, of worthlessness. My self-worth was gone. I had no self-confidence, no self-esteem. The loneliness, the stress, the exhaustion, the depression, the anxiety, the fear of judgment. Oh my God, what are people going to say? Coming from our cultural background, oh my God, what are they going to say? And so it can be deadly. Those emotional pain can be deadly, but sometimes our culture, we underestimate those things. So I actually got to a point where I needed to get up, dust myself. And for me, when people started telling me that, you know what, Peggy, move on. Things have happened. Move on with your life. Forget about it. Forgive. Get a grip of yourself. I knew all of those things. I knew I could actually get up, dust myself, and move on. I knew I could rewrite my story. I knew I could find, live the life that I was born to live. But how do we do that? How do we turn our pain into gain? How do we turn our trauma into triumph? How do we move from surviving to thriving? How do we shift from that deep pool of emotional pain, into something else? How do we move from that limiting belief into empowering beliefs? So for me, that was a moment where I needed to teach myself how to navigate myself out of that pit into the life that I wanted it to be. And not just for me, for my children and for other survivors like me. So that is when I started writing my book. And in that quest for that, looking for that quest, that solution to how to turn my pain into gain, that is where I got the inspiration, because by nature, I'm a born writer. I love to write. That is my passion. So I started writing, and that 14 letter, I am thriving now. I am thriving now is 14 letters. And each of these letters represent a step towards turning a pain into gain. These are sustainable, simple, and practical steps that anyone, and I always say I encourage women who have actually gone through traumatic abuse, or who have gone maybe through abuse, maybe as a child or as an adult, any type, not just women, men. These are strategies that we can actually apply to bounce back, to move from that point of pain into gain, to actually begin to see the treasure that lies within our pain. Because I believe that every experience that we go through in life happens for a purpose. Within our pain, there is a treasure. There lies within our pain a treasure. But the trick is, how can we uncover that treasure and begin to use that treasure, not just for ourselves, but for those around us, for our community, and for our future generation. So I don't know, I like to talk. If I want to, Mr. Kanjo, I can just keep talking and talking until you say stop.
That I understand so well, because I've encountered you in a conversation, and I know exactly how much you can put in when it comes to talking. Well, it's interesting talking though. So thank you so much, Peggy, and wonderful story. Summarize, but deep, really deep. So thank you so much. We've all listened to her, and I guess she has had to touch each of us in one way or the other, like it or not. Now it's time for questions. Who goes first? Any questions? Okay, Missy BK. Okay, Missy, go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Big Brother. Peggy, thank you so much for the incredible words you've used today. Just to say something that from what you've been saying and me listening to you, for someone going through a lot of trauma, depression, anxiety, emptiness, sometimes it's very difficult, especially if we come from a background where we felt a sense of isolation or discrimination, or we were not loved enough. Sometimes we blame our parents, but for us to be able to move forward, it's just for us to understand that God used our parents as vessels to bring us to this earth. And once we start to understand that we've been used as vessels to come to this earth, then we will start to understand that our purpose did not lie in our parents. God had a purpose for us. And maybe they were just a part for us to pass through, to be able to achieve what we're born to do. So my question that I want to ask you is, after you wrote this book, it seems you had also gone through some difficult moments. For someone going through this kind of situation, if you meet that person now, and they wanted you to give them a quick advice, like what they should do, like immediately, that could relieve them or that could set them on the right path to recovery, what will you say?
Thank you so much for that question. That is amazing. And thank you for the comment that you made before the question. The first thing that I'll always say to people when I meet them is, I know it's harsh sometimes, but it's the reality, is to accept responsibility for your life and your happiness. That is the first. But before you even accept responsibility for your life and your happiness, the first thing that you need to do is to ignite mindfulness. And the I in my I am thriving now, the I stands for ignite mindfulness. Is that point where you wake up to your reality? Because some of the time we sleep within our problem. We sleep in our problem. We refuse. We turn a blind eye to it. We make as if it's not happening, right? So until you ignite consciousness and accept that, yes, it's true, this thing is happening to me, then you cannot move to the next step, which is now accept responsibility. So assuming that that person has actually come to me to say, this is what I'm going through, and then that means they have actually recognized that that is what they're going through. And the next thing I will be telling them is that, you know what? now that you're still living. You know, you should be lucky that you're living, because people who have gone through what you're going through, they die through that process. And the reason why I say this is to bring some sense of gratitude, because sometimes we are not grateful. If we're not grateful with the life that if we're not grateful for the fact that we are still alive, then we cannot necessarily be motivated to take the next step. So I always tell people that, you know what, my brother, my sister, be grateful. You are so lucky that you're still living. You're breathing this air. You're so lucky. Many people are looking for that opportunity to breathe the air that you're breathing. They don't have it. So now that you're breathing this air, the next thing that you need to do is to accept responsibility for your life and your happiness. No one is going to make you happy except you. And accepting responsibility is like looking into yourself and you say, you know what? It doesn't matter how people have treated me. It doesn't matter the mistakes that I made in my own life. It doesn't matter what my parents did or didn't do. What matters right now is that I have got my life. I have got the yam and the knife. I can slice it in any way I want. And that is about accepting responsibility. I will make myself happy the way I want. And when you have that mindset, whoever have that mindset, I tell you, that is where their recovery journey begins.
That actually makes, I like the fact that you mentioned that, because I always use this statement all the time, that you can start from here and make the end of your story different. And I think for someone to know that, because sometimes people are scared that, okay, I've already made a lot of mistakes. People know me as a bad person, or maybe my life, I'm living in frustration. I will never get out of this. No, you can reinvent your life.
Yeah.
Exactly like what you say. You can start from now and create a different ending to your life. So all what you say, like you say, it's all about the mindset. Is that correct? It's all about the mindset. Yeah, it's all about mindset. Once you make up your mind that, you know what, maybe I gave the pen, my life pen, to some other person to write the ending of my life. You tell them it ends now. I will take this pen as from now, and I will sketch and I will draw and I will define how my ending will look like. So, I'm really happy that you brought up the topic today. Thank you so much for the answer.
You're welcome.
That is beautiful. Any more questions?
I see Danielle's hand.
Danielle?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Peggy. Once again, I was so much, I could like see myself, when you were telling your story, because I'm actually a recovered trauma patient. I remember in 2017, yeah, I had a trauma attack. I fainted and I almost died, because there was a point in my life. I grew up in an environment where, I was always told that I am not good enough, and I actually began telling myself that I'm not good enough. When I have the slightest issue, I will tell myself I'm not good enough. Or anytime that something happens to me, I will have that voice echoing in my mind that I'm not beautiful, I'm not good enough, I can never be successful. Because I grew up with people that actually kept reminding me that, telling me all those things. And at a certain point in my life, I started actually accepting those things, and it affected me so much, up to the point that I really thought no one really loved me. And when the things were just so much for me, I had that trauma attack, and I remember I was took to the hospital, but thank God I survived. And at that moment, what I did is, when I survived from this attack, I told myself, this is never going to happen again. Actually, I take the responsibility of my health. I take the responsibility of my happiness. And this will never happen. I will never let anybody tell me or look down on me, because, you know, I started working, but that did not really just come like this. And as you said, we always need someone to help me. I had a mentor. I had people listening to all what has happened to me, some people that really cared about me. They showed me love, they mentored me, and it took me some time to recover and have that confidence in myself and start believing more and start doing things, you know, that I really love. But after that, you know, I'm also an author, you know. I'm also an author. So the title of my book is Becoming Your Dream Self, you know, 7 Keys to Own and Control Your Life as a Millennial. And I wrote the book because I also wanted to encourage other young millennials out there, telling them that it is possible, despite everything that you're going through, despite the circumstances in which you find yourself at a given moment. It's always possible to really become the person that you've always dreamed or you've always wanted to be. And, you know, yeah, so apart from that, actually this, in 2018, you know, just a year after, no, 2 years after that, like, you know, in 2018, I have just graduated from ERIC with my master's degree, but I was lost. And I remember you mentioned something like, when you meet any person, you always ask them the question, why were you born? What is your purpose? So in 2018, I have gone to school, I have my master's degree, but I was still asking myself, oh my God, why am I born? What is my purpose? And, you know, it took me some time to really find out what is my purpose. And, you know, that's just, and recently I was actually being invited to give a 3-day seminars, you know, to train some young girls like myself, university girls in Boya. And I asked that same question, and I literally, out of 11 young girls, I literally had no one that could answer clearly that what is my purpose? What is, so for me, it took me some time to really discover what is my purpose. And I thank God I'm actually doing what I was born to do. And, you know, so I wrote the question down. So my question for you is, for someone who at a certain point in life feel lost and confused about their purpose, how can someone really find their purpose and find their why? Because, you know, our why should always be our drive, you know. So what, yeah, so that's just my question. Thank you very much.
Oh, well done to you, Danielle. Kudos to you. And yeah, so where you were talking as well, that's my childhood life. So we have a lot in common. So yeah, you know, anything that happens in life begins with us. Just like you say, you made a promise to yourself that this will never happen again. So you own it. You took the responsibility and own it. And you are who you are today and doing what you are today because you made that decision. Again, it all comes to the mind. You made that decision. It will never happen again. And through your story now, you are now changing other people's lives. So coming back to your question, what is our purpose? In I think in chapter 3, or is it chapter 4 of my book, which I talk about the M, I am, the M in the I am stands for meaning, which is the purpose. Meaning of life, a purpose for life. Why were you born? Why were we born? So our purpose, again, in that chapter, I talk about how to find our purpose because there are varied ways to find our purpose. Our purpose is our passion, is something that we love doing. Some people will define it as something that we love doing, something that flows effortlessly, something that if they wake you up in the middle of the night, say, Danielle, get up and do, you will just do without struggling, you know? So it's part of it. You kind of breathe it, you feel it. So that is, it might, for some people, that may be their purpose, that thing that they love doing so much that it becomes, you know, part of them. So when you love that thing, then how can you use that thing now to change not just you, to change others? So then you make your purpose. Like, my purpose is to that, so that it kind of, you know. Again, you may find your purpose Another way of finding your purpose is actually identifying how you feel. What makes you happy? You as Daniel, what makes you happy? Right? And what makes you, what without that thing, how will you feel? Okay. So in that way now, you are writing your statement of purpose to say, my purpose is to make, because in that point now you are identifying other people like you, people who may not feel satisfied because they lack something within them. Okay. So now you're identifying your purpose to try to fill that gap. For example, let me just read this. It might kind of make sense, because again, that is how to help people find their purpose. For me, I say my purpose in life is to empower people with love and respect, to find their self-worth. The reason why I want them to find their self-worth is because me, when I was in their shoes, I didn't have any self-worth. So now that I've found my self-worth, I want to help others to find their own self-worth so that they can live a thriving life just like me. Because the reason why I'm living the thriving life today is because I decided to find my voice, my identity, my self-worth, to find my why. And that is why I live the life that I'm living today. So that has become my purpose today, to also help others to find their self-worth, to find their identity, to find their freedom, to find their voice, so that they can live a thriving life. I don't know whether that answers your question, because your question was, how can you help others?
Yes. Yeah, I actually love the way you framed it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I guess we've learned a lot today, and I'm just going to add something to what Peggy said, that your passion is that thing which you would do even if you were gotten out of sleep. You do it instantly. That is true, and it happens. It happens to me. Look, it could take up to a week to prepare a good radio production, but I can also do it in less than no time, simply because I'm so passionate. I remember when the results of the presidential elections in the United States was declared. So I wasn't really expecting it, because it had taken some time to come. So all of a sudden, somebody just hinted me that the result is finally out. Do you know what I did? I was at home. In less than 30 minutes, I got to the studio, put up a 2-hour show with more than 10 people talking. I did that in less than 30 minutes. And it came out as though I had planned that show for the whole week. But no, I did that, instantaneously. This is because of the passion I have for it. When you have that passion, you can move mountains even without noticing. So I agree with Peggy. If you are passionate with something, go ahead, do it. That is how you find solace. You find solace in that passion. Even when you are stressed, once that thing comes around your mind, I bet you a whole chunk of that stress is gone. So yes, I agree with Peggy 100%. We have just 2 minutes to end. If there is any last word, we would love to hear whoever wants to speak. If you have any more questions for Peggy, good and fine. If not, at this point,
I think Solange has got her hand up.
Okay, Solange.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Solange.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, Peggy, for sharing your story. I'll try to be brief, but thank you so much. I think we all can relate with what you said, because I think a lot of us African women, we go through this self-esteem struggle where we're so put down so much that sometimes we find it really difficult to believe in ourselves, in our gifts, in our talents. And I've been that girl too who struggled so much with self-esteem because I was always talked down on, told I'll never be anything in life, I'll never amount to anything, you're useless and all that stuff. And I did believe it. After hearing it repetition over and over, I started believing it, and I thought I don't have anything to offer in this world, and I wanted to kill myself. So it's so great to hear you share your story and how you picked yourself up and being equally in tough relationships and they don't end well. And sometimes you feel so bad about yourself, and that struggle that we, especially as women, we go through. So I just want to ask you to be quick. How did you, if you find someone in that situation coming out of a bad relationship, self-esteem broken, broke financially, you name it, all the things that could be broken in a person, what in few words would you tell that person to pick themselves up? I know you already said name some of the steps to own it and all of that, but in few words, like what would you tell that person that will give them hope again to really strive and level up and stand up and fall in love with the best version of their self, their new self?
Yeah, what I always usually say to most when I meet people like that, I say the problem is not. I always tell them that again, it comes to honesty. And they always come back again to that accepting responsibility. But what I always encourage people, women, when I find themselves in that situation, is say, you know what, there is no need for you to feel bad about yourself. There is no need for you to feel like, if it didn't happen to you, who would, then it would have happened to who? Because sometimes when we find ourselves, we say, why me? Why me? Why did this thing happen to me? I used to ask the same question, why me? But I ask myself again, if not me, who? It happens to me for a purpose. And that's why I always tell any woman that I find themselves come out of that situation, drowned with low self-esteem, lack of confidence, confusion. They don't even have clarity. They feel like rubbish. They feel like they don't. I always say, you know what? It all happened for a purpose. One door is closed. The next door is already open. Can you see the door open? You've got to open your eyes to see the door open. The door is wide open right now, waiting for you to go through. So I always encourage them, dust yourself, clean up yourself, and try to see how you can turn yourself around. But again, I know sometimes it takes time. It takes time to heal. I won't lie you. It took me almost 3.5 years to get my complete healing. So it always takes time. And I always work with women step by step, one step after the other, but keep telling them that this thing, you are the one to make it happen. It's not the person that abused you. It's not whoever, it's you. Now that you've got the knife and the yam, make it happen. I don't know if that answers your question, Solange, but again, it comes down back to responsibility.
Thank you so much. You did. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Can I add something to what Peggy just said in response to Solange? What she actually said is something very powerful. It's something a lot of women go through in our community, our society, without knowing exactly how to break through and find out exactly what's happening. But what I can add to it is that sometimes we women, we fall for seasonal people. And what do I mean by seasonal people? There are people that come into our lives, some for a reason. Maybe some come because they wanted to teach us a lesson. And after they teach that lesson, they have to go. There are some other people that come in our lives, to give us an experience. And there are other people that come to stay. So sometimes we fall for seasonal people. Meanwhile, we could have seen, the signs and symptoms from the start. And when things start to go the other way, for example, the other person keeps complaining, that you are not up to this, you're that. Sometimes we as women, we tell ourselves, maybe that person is going to change. But that is simply signs and symptoms to tell you that this person is trying to communicate something. Listen. And that is a part where we women, we don't listen. We don't watch out for those little points. We wait until it's too late before we are broken, because when you're broken, going out of a broken relationship, your body needs time to heal first. Yeah. And if you are broken and sunken into a deep hole, it will take you a lot of strength to get out. So once you are out there, take, for example, it's broken right now. What do? I always encourage, sisters that I call sisters. If you have people that you can actually trust, like when I mean like close friends, even it should not be maybe a family member, you can look for a counselor. That's why I always say, because, in our culture, people don't believe in counselors or people that you can talk to. Sometimes you can just go, even if it means paying $50 or $100 just to sit for someone to listen to you. It heals. Yeah. Just for someone to listen to you, it heals. So I always, it should not be somebody from your country. Look for somebody outside. And once you now let go that hurt, just to be heard is already healing in the first place. And two, after you're able to do that, remind yourself, look back in the relationship, and also be honest. It starts with I. Did I do things that I know influence the relationship to end? If you did, then tell yourself, look, I won't kill myself. I'm human. How can I fix this? How can I change this? When you look at that situation, you will now have 2 pages, one your side, one his side. See the things he did wrong. And if he couldn't change, that is not on you. If he told you things that you look at yourself and you don't see those things aligning with who you are, then you know that your journey has got to continue from the other side. So that's something that the healing, this is a big topic that we women, we can have a conversation on how to move on from heartbreaks, because it's something that we suffer with in silence. Because in Africa or Cameroon, we grow up where you don't have to express your emotions or express how you feel, because people think that you did something terrible.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
Absolutely, spot on, absolutely. And when I wrote my book, I tell the story is about me. The lens, 100% lens is on me. Because one thing that I've seen many women who come out of a broken relationship, we ruminate around the person. We keep, blaming the person. This person did that. This person did that. No. When it comes to that point, once you're out, you've got to reevaluate yourself. You've got to look at yourself. I always say, assuming that you were sat in your room, in a tidy room, clean and tidy. Somebody walks in your room, right? Make a mess in that room and then leave. Will you sit on that mess, or will you wake up and dust yourself? Will you wake up and take the dustpan and the bin and then brush yourself, clean yourself to your standard, or will you wait for them to come and clean up? And this is what some women will wait forever. They're waiting for that person who hurt them to come and clean up their mess. Meanwhile, they should get up, take the dustpan and the brush and clean their mess to whatever standard. And I tell you, every mess, there is a treasure in any mess that you've made in your life. Is pain to gain. In every pain, there is gain. That is all my whole purpose of my book. My book is about how to turn every single pain into gain. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Thank you so much for that contribution.
In every gain, in every pain, there is gain. Yeah. Beautiful one there. Peggy, thank you so much. It looks like we have one last question. Maxwell's hand is up. Maxwell, are you there?
Yeah, good evening. Maybe I'm coming too late into the discussion, but I listened to both speakers right from beginning, Myra and Peggy. And the they have the same message they're sending across. My question just goes to Myra. Maybe I've watched you perform. I'm here in Germany. I've watched you perform, and there's one statement you made that music or being an artist is it's type of a lonely type of life. Now, when we look at music being some sort of therapy for that depression, some sort of we can call it that reduces that depressive symptoms and anxiety. How then does it translate that an artist is lonely for giving that therapy?
Beautiful question.
I like that question too.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's how do I put this? So take, for example, let me put my songs on as an example right here. My songs are all about inspiring and healing and motivating. I don't write those songs for myself or for people alone. I write them for myself too. And normally what happens when you are traveling as a musician, you don't travel with your whole family or the people that you love because life has to go on. You sort of have to create a family on the road with the people you work with. And sometimes that's not the case unless you have a full band that is yours forever, that you can build a relationship with. Usually when you travel, you're probably traveling with a manager if you have one, or your PR person as well there. It's not given that those people are going to be your family. They are there to work. They're not there to take care of your personal needs or your emotional needs. And as you travel, it all depends on how people treat you on the way. So there's just a lot that is left in the hands of other people. And then in that case, you're traveling, if you want to just wind down and it's hard to do that. It's very hard because you're moving from one hotel to the other. There's nothing personable in that experience that will make you feel like I am at home everywhere I go. So it becomes a very lonely place. And that's why you see a lot of musicians getting into drugs, alcohol, because they have to find something to fix it. They have to find something to occupy that void that they have. It is not a rosy world. It is not. We see all the glamour and everything else. We don't see what happens behind the scene. And that's where I say it's a very lonely place. I'm going to be honest about it. Maybe for some other people it isn't, but it is a lonely place.
Can I say something, Mara?
Yes.
I think he asked a very good question, that artists sing songs that will help heal people from loneliness. But how come artists are lonely?
Yeah.
So this is something I've got to say concerning that, because that's a very powerful question.
Yeah.
How come we sing songs to comfort people? Meanwhile, we need the comfort. In the music world, especially artists signed to some labels, they can give you a comforting song to sing, but maybe it's not coming from the heart. You can sing some to pass on a message, but what if it's just like Peggy was talking about? You can know how to sing that song to comfort someone, but you don't know the thought processes on how to self-heal yourself. What if I'm a singer, but I don't know how to take responsibility, or I don't know how to change my mindset on how to tell myself I will find ways to make myself whole without going too far, or I will genuinely, step back and reinvent my life. So it's not just about the song and the singing. It's just like Maggie you're putting into a soup. So you need to have the whole mindset itself to be able to heal yourself. Else, no matter what songs you sing, that song can go to heal somebody who is already in the road to find healing. Meanwhile, your journey to destruction is just starting. So to give an idea to your question is, artists don't have the right thought. I mean, most of them who fall into depression or loneliness have not yet dived deep into themselves to start, walking through that part of healing. So that's why they look for the easy way route, to take drugs or take medication, to be able to survive. And also their work ethic is too much. There are some artists that they have to tour like 7 days a week, or maybe rest one day. So some of them, not even them, have that chance to tell their producers that, I don't want to take this. Sometimes they give them drugs without them even knowing. So that's another situation that, if we have to start talking about it, it's going to be long, because some are on drugs and it leads them to depression without them even knowing that they've been drugged in the first place. So they only realize down the road that they have been drugged, and it's late.
Wow.
One quick question.
Great question from Maxwell. Great responses from Myra and Missy BK. Thank you so much. We have just like 2 minutes to run off this session, and believe me, if you were part of this session today, then you had a blast. In fact, we've really had intelligible people on the platform today. Thank you so much. So should I give room for one last question? If not, I will run off with Aminata. Do you have a question? I see your hand raised.
I just want to, it's not a question, but I just want to say what I liked about the whole, I like that like most of the
Can
speakers.
you fix the camera?
Sure. I like that most of the speaker, they talked about creating something or doing something. I like that a lot. That's like the theme of like all of the speakers, because I'm like, yeah, that is so true, because like in this age right now, like especially Africans, we have to do stuff for ourselves, like, and we have to do it, like other people can do it for us. Back in the day, before we get our independence, like, Europeans and Americans used to do it for us. They'd be the teachers, counselors, etc. But now, after independence, they are not there anymore. Like if they go to Africa, they're going for vacation. They are not there anymore. So we have to do it ourselves, like whatever little way that you could help, that you could do, whatever, like don't look down on what you can do, however little, like we have to change our mentality that we could contribute, like whatever we have, whatever little that we have, to do it. Yeah. And also like passion, and it ties with passion, like whatever you're passionate about or whatever you are good at. If you're good at doing hair, you're good at doing this, cooking, you're good at doing this, or sometimes it could be that you're good at it, or sometimes it could be that you're passionate about it. You might not be good at it, but you're passionate about it. Either one, you can like do something with it. So like I like that. That's like speakers have that in common.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Aminata, for that wonderful contribution. We are about to run off. Do we have any last question? If not, I will ask my very last question, and that will be it. So my last question goes to Peggy. It's going to be very quick and a little bit controversial. So all along, Peggy, you and perhaps Missy have said that you should take your own pen and write your own story. It shouldn't be about other people. Yet we live in a world where some of the things we do and some of the successes depend on other people. We live in a world where some of our problems are caused by other people. In as much as we try to ignore them, they are still on our toes, right? We are told that no man is an island. So how do you succeed by just doing everything to yourself, having your own mindset and trying to keep other people, away?
Interesting question. It's not about trying to keep other people away. We cannot function in isolation. We need to function. We need some inclusivity. We need to collaborate with people. We need people to be able to enable us to achieve the purpose or the vision that we want to achieve. But it's about not dwelling on those that are not necessary in your journey. Not, for example, let me go back. I know I get where you're coming from, the direction where you're coming from, and which you ask your question. When we go through this thing called life, I said this thing called life, I always call it this thing called life, right? People are going to cross your path. The good, the bad, the ugly. They're going to make a mess in your life. They're going to make that massive mess and they're going to leave. They're going to say things, do things, you know, that it's going to leave an emotional scar on you, okay? So as you move ahead, as you strive to move forward, you don't need to carry the baggage of these people or carry those emotions where you may carry those scars will always be there, but don't dwell on the people that created those scars. Leave them behind. They have come to your life, just like one of our sisters said, they have come to your life. Maybe they were just seasonal. They were just passerbys in your life. They've come, they've taught you some lessons. They've done whatever thing they had to do, but now you are moving ahead. You don't need to be carrying those baggage with you. Leave them behind. And you don't even need to waste your time talking about them, because you know what? The 1 minute that you waste to talk about those people, that is one valuable minute that you would have taken to create one step for your future or to change one life. So for me, I see it in such a way that it's all mindset. You've got to get yourself to the position, you know what? I'm not going to talk about the person. I'm not going to talk about the experience. Even if I talk about the person or talk about the experiences, I'm talking from the standpoint of strength. I'm talking from the standpoint of gain. I'm saying that, hey, you know what? I love the way you treated me, because if you didn't treat me the way you did, I wouldn't have been where I am today. So you talk from the standpoint of strength, and that gives you the energy to keep going. No time for negativity.
Can I add something to it before we close?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. That was a powerful question you asked. And just to be quick, when we say take your pen and write the end of your story, what does that mean? It does not mean that you should delete everybody in your life.
Yeah.
That goes to say, the idea of you thinking and agreeing to what people think about you, that's what they think.
Yeah.
It's right now. What do you think about you? Are you your own friend? Are you your own supporter? Are you your own fan? You know, these are the questions you now start asking yourself. So when I say write the ending of your story, it means that what? This is the day you stop, like that person who told you before, you are not good at this. Ask yourself, are they right? If the answer is no, then delete that person. That person is not a good influence to you. Instead, if you have just one person in that crowd that would cheer you up, that is your fan, that is the person you should keep in that circle. And let me be clear with you at this point. It's just like they say God and Satan exist, okay? Remember, these people from your past will still haunt you. And some will make you feel guilty that you're on your path to healing. Just like you asked, some people might say, oh, you're not trying to get away from us after all the things that we did to you. After through it all, you want to leave us behind. This is not a game for the weak. That's why your path to healing is painful. It's stressful, but you have to keep your head up high to reach the end destination, wherever it is. And to say that, keep all the negative people on one side and welcome the positive people on the other side. Yeah. And once you start doing that, you start building your relationship currency. It's not just about the emotional currency that you're trying to build at this point. You're building also the relationship currency by keeping all the positive people that are making you feel whole. Mm-hmm. Stay away from anybody that brings bad energy. So that's the way I can say it.
Thank God we have people who bring positive energy here. we are being told to stay away from those who bring back energy. Are you your own friend? Are you your supporter? Are you your own fan? If you are not, then you better start being. Thank you so much for that. So as a matter of fact, we've come to the end of this conversation. It is so interesting to a point where if we don't stop right now, we will continue till, till tomorrow. But before we go away, Missy, I'll stay with you. Could you just take 30 minutes, 30 seconds, as a matter of fact, not minutes, sorry, 30 seconds to assess today's session. When you are done, we will ask Solange to do the same, then that will be it for today. So how did you perform today, Missy?
Thank you so much, Big Brother. I'm sad that I missed Mara's presentation. When I just entered the house, I realized I was already 30 minutes late. But today's session was absolutely amazing because Peggy touched a point that needs to be addressed in the community, especially to our young girls growing up. If we have this conversation, I mean, to a wider population, there will be a lot of souls that will be touched. There will be a lot of hearts that will be filled. There will be empty cups that will be filled as well. So I'm definitely thinking today was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Peggy, for the book. Hopefully I can get one of it.
Beautiful. So Solange, did we make it today? What should we take home with?
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. I just want to, thank you first of all for putting this idea together. I think that personally for me, I'm learning so much. I don't know about anybody else, but I think it's such a rich session that I see that, this is going to go bigger someday. It's going to be seminars somewhere we can, bring people together in different cities and really have this, this life-changing webinar that people will go back home transformed. So I really feel, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't underestimate anything small. There is power in small things. And I know that this is going to explode someday. And the change and the transformation through the information we're receiving here, I think it's just so powerful. It's explosive. Personally, that's just how I see it. And I just know it's just going to get better from here on. And I thank the speakers so much for sharing their story. It's just, touched our hearts so deep. And we're going back home with a lot, quite a lot.
Thank you so much, Solange. It's definitely going to get better. And just like you, I'm also a believer in things that start small and grow eventually. Peggy, I want to thank you so much for accepting to be one of our speakers. It was a wonderful session with you. Myra, I'm so grateful that you took off time to speak to this scores of people here today. Hopefully, we will be back with you and the stories will continue. So thank you so much. We will be back again here in 2 weeks to continue telling the stories and learning. Each day we come here, I believe we learn just so much. So thank you so much. And at this point, I am begging for your permission to close the session. So thank you once again, and may God bless all of us.